Welcome back, episode 2 of PodBoys.
Woo!
Now we're going to try and take the counter on it. I put it to you, Wookiee, that Lord of the Rings is utter wank. The characters are boring, the whole concept is shit. The idea they should have just flown to the place and destroyed the ring. How Sauron is an arsehole because he didn't conquer the whole world, he doesn't have a Death Star, and the orcs are idiots, and Legolas is just some faggot that needs his arse panning. Tolkien writes shit. He wrote utter wank. That's the argument. Lord of the Rings is bollocks, as is all of Tolkien's work. It's limp-wristed, post-war, optimistic crap that's no basis in reality of the real world. Counter. This one's going to be an interesting, because you're a Tolkien fan and so am I. Stop.
And I've had less preparation for this one.
Yeah, I just threw him straight in. There we go. There's the argument. Tolkien's wank.
Okay. My counter argument, you're on the end.
That works. Alright, elaborate. I am the apex predator here. Choke on the old grey in a second.
Okay.
Counter the argument.
I will counter the argument that Tolkien's writing is brilliant. And the first point I will bring up is the level of detail and effort put into things.
Yeah, let's go for that. Let's go for the detail. The world he created is in depth. I can't deny that. And if anybody who does think it's actually not in depth compared to like Star Wars,
clearly
you're obviously too stupid to realize that Star Wars is written by a legion of men, whereas Tolkien wrote the entire fucking thing himself. And also, until he died, and then his son wrote the rest.
Yeah. And let's not forget also that 80% of Star Wars no longer exists.
Yeah, they killed the whole canon, which is really sad. Star Wars
Do
fans.
not question
Star Trek
Disney
versus Star
overlords.
Wars. It is the great argument. Star Trek is such a diverse world with so many variants, and Star Wars fans have 4 movies that they have to watch. And then
5. Phantom Menace
4.
has moments.
Not enough. But the argument, yes. Let's go with the whole... let's start off with the actual Lord of the Rings itself. Bilbo...
Let's start with The Hobbit, because that was the start.
Yeah, The Hobbit, it was an interesting book, but for one, it's anti-feminist and anti-everything else because it's a sausage fest. Mm-hmm. I have actually read such an argument that it's bad because it's Meninism, I think they call it now. It's a Meninist book because there's no women, it's a sausage fest. We're not talking about the movies, I enjoyed them in their own way, but it's very simplistic and childish. According to a certain person's wife, Hobbit is child's rubbish, but Lord of the Rings was more grown up and more adult, but still lacked chutzpah. So let's go with the Hobbit. The Hobbit, interesting concept, but the book drags. The characters are okay, but they do seem a bit cliche. Bilbo is a glorified coming-of-age story, and Gandalf is just an incompetent fuckwit who can't do his job right. And the bad guys obviously are completely useless and don't know what they're doing. Okay, so essentially it's a childish look at the world where everyone's an idiot except for the good guy, who's also a moron.
Okay, let's work with that.
Yes.
Well, first of all, it's overly childish, probably because it was written as a children's book.
Correct. That I do know as well. 1935, if memory serves.
Yes, they're around about. It was definitely the 30s.
Yes.
So
Rainier Unwin was the man who actually got the damn thing published, technically.
So first of all, Tolkien at this point in time was an English teacher.
Yes.
He had written some snippets of ideas that none of which had been published or finished, which ended up collating together into the Silmarillion many, many years later. So he kind of had this world, but The Hobbit was the first time he genuinely wrote a story in it, which he wrote as a children's story, which is why it's overly light-hearted compared to all of his other stuff. 2, it was written on the spur of the moment while he was bored marking exam papers. He literally wrote the first line of the book as a doodle because he lost focus while he was marking an exam paper, and just built it out from there.
In a hole in the ground lived the Hobbit.
So I can understand that it won't necessarily be as refined as later work.
Let us go. Yeah, okay, it's a children's book. Okay, we'll take that. It's a children's book. But then he grew up a bit, and then we've got The Lord of the Rings, which was the main argument at this point. Now, Lord of the Rings is stupid compared to, say, Game of Thrones. Because Game of Thrones is bloody and gory and there's rape and murder and mutilation and it's just horrible, horrible, horrible stuff, which is reality of the world. Whereas in Lord of the Rings, even the bad guys seem a bit soft and Sauron doesn't look like he's going to, skull fuck Arwen until her eyes explode. He just doesn't seem to have that ability. Well, it's a lot cleaner world, therefore it's
non-corporeal essence doesn't really have a dick to skull fuck someone with.
Do you forget Pink-Eyed Ghost in the fridge? That's a reference to the last USP2 episode, which is never going to be edited at this rate. Come on, Richard! Get it done, because God knows I can't edit this shit. But, no, I do mean that it's too soft, too soppy, and too weak compared to, say, Game of Thrones, which has real balls.
Lord of the Rings didn't have 40 hours of political backstabbing.
True.
This is a Game of Thrones has the essence.
It's a glass Wookiee and it's empty.
Yeah, I'm refilling it.
Put something in it before you have a heart attack.
Game of Thrones literally comprises everything that everyone hates about the new. I can't say the new anymore. The previously new Star Wars.
Yes.
It's too much politics and not enough action.
Whereas Lord of the Rings was never-ending people droning on, and then some battle scenes here. 2 hippies lost in a mountain, 2 hippies getting kidnapped by trees, 3 fuckwits running after some hippies, 1 who doesn't want to be king but does want to be king, depending on the film or the book version, 1 who's like trying to avenge his dead mother, maybe, we don't know, again, book to film, and a short guy who's just trying to catch them up and wants to hit something. They're out, and a very powerful demigod creature who's too much of a puff to actually just walk into Mordor, smack Sauron on the head and say, I'm Gandalf, shut the fuck up, bitch, get out of here. Because he is a demigod on the same level as Sauron, as is Saruman and them. They're all the same sort of rank of angel. Therefore, they could have just stepped in and dealt with the problem, but they're all too limp-wristed and too soft. I mean, what's-his-face, Isildur walked out with the ring, and Elrond didn't stick a knife in his back and chuck the fucker down the volcano and then tell everyone, oops, he slipped. Therefore, it's stupid, because they didn't actually, get to grips with their teeth, as it were.
Rawr.
Yes, they didn't rawr everybody. There's the argument. They're too soft. Everyone's too soft and not hardcore. Therefore, it's stupid.
Okay, well, let's start off
It's hard trying to actually put myself into the mind of the modern human because I can't lower my IQ that much. I like Tolkien. It's hard.
A lot of my counter arguments, I want to quote stuff I know from outside of the context of the books and from the extended works.
Oh, go for it. Because we're working on Tolkien in general, if you want.
Yeah. No, my thing is also that
large and floppy. That was the laptop rebooting because the storm has passed.
The computer, the laptop's still on, or you wouldn't be hearing us right now.
No, the laptop coming to power.
Oh, okay. So
the battery's failing on it. It's almost dead.
Hold me out. Ow! Bear with me in the sense that I might get some of my terminologies and whatever off because it has been a couple of years since I've read all the stuff.
Yes.
But if I remember correctly, the term was the Maya into describing what Gandalf and
they were Maya.
Radagast and Saruman and the 2 blue wizards whose names I can't remember because they weren't allowed to say their names in the film because of copyright issues.
Really? Is that the reason they didn't do it? I thought it was because he never actually wrote their bloody names.
No, they have names, but their names aren't. Is it New Line? It is New Line Cinema.
New
right?
Line, yes.
Yeah. New Line Cinema only have the rights to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Yes.
But the Blue Wizards' names were only mentioned in other books, never in those 2.
You see, when
so
it
New
comes,
Line Cinema does not have permission to use their names.
That when it comes to shit like that does annoy me. That these people are so obsessed with the lore and not actually feeding the fan fiction. I think it was the Lady Death movie years ago. Now, Purgatory was one of the main instigators of the creation of Lady Death and all that. I remember Raven telling me he actually has got his uses, but but in the Lady Death movie they didn't have Purgatory because it was owned by a different company. Therefore, a pinnacle character was excluded, and obviously the show ended up watered down because you're missing a major chunk of the story.
It's the same as in certain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Mutants are referred to by the name Inhuman because the X-Men franchise isn't owned by the same copyright holder. So even though this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, stuff from X-Men can't exist because X-Men's owned by Sony.
See, that makes a noise.
But yeah, that was basically in the film when he forgets the Blue Wizard's name. It was a little joke to poke fun at the fact that they don't have copyrights permission to use those names.
Okay, but back to the original point. Lord of the Rings is
they
too
were
soft.
basically like you say, they were basically like demigod characters.
Yes, so why didn't they have any balls walk into Mordor and smack Sauron in the head and tell him no?
Because to go outside, to break the fourth wall, the story would have been boring. It would have been 3 pages long and no point in reading it.
Yes, but that's what
The law,
certain people demand. That's why there's 1,001 videos and complaints, as you've seen online, of people saying, why didn't they just use the eagles and fly into Mordor?
oh, I will get to the Eagles.
You have 20 minutes to get to the eagles. Actually, 19. You're talking a lot. You better get to your eagles.
Okay, so first of all, in most stories and things, and I can't remember if this is ever actually brushed on in Tolkien's writing or not, but often in general with stuff like this, you tend to see that the supernatural beings are restrained from direct interaction and can only influence.
Which, yeah, that ties into a lot of stories. That's why God and Jesus aren't actually on Earth. They just appear to you in a piece of toast and therefore guide you.
They're the chess players. They have to move the pieces. They can't walk on the board themselves,
Yes.
as it were. So I suspect there
Except
was some
Lucifer,
degree
'cause
of
he's
that
hot.
within Lord of the Rings.
Uh-huh.
But now let's get to everybody's favourite argument, the Eagles.
Yeah, the eagles should have just flown everybody in, therefore
Now, anyone who has actually read The Hobbit,
people don't actually read. Remember that.
yeah,
They're
that's
stupid.
why there's all these stupid arguments.
I always enjoyed that person who posted about the Hobbit movies come out and they were bitching about it because it's
Spoilers.
milking. They're
Oh.
milking the whole concept and they can't come up with the original idea. And someone's response is, "Do you realise that Lord of the Rings is the sequel to The Hobbit? It's a book series. You dopey fucking moron." But that's just
My
standard.
favourite is when the person is like, I got the Hunger Games DVD pack compilation package for like super cheap, go me. Next post, never mind their books. But yeah, so if you've actually read The Hobbit, now if you've seen the Hobbit movie, you'll know there's the point where
A hell of a lot of variation, but for a film,
Yeah.
it was good. Let's put the films in their own category.
yeah, that could the Hobbit film versus book could be its own entire episode.
As we said when we spoke to the guys from Geek of All Trades, I said multiverse, which nearly blew what's-his-face's head, because he never thought of The Lord of the Rings as a multiverse. But I've always
I like
maintained
that concept.
if you change anything ever so slightly... Well, in my multiverse, Sauron walked into Minas Tirith and beat fucking Gandalf to death with his own leg. Because, fuck you, I'm the bad guy. I will destroy your world.
I
in
don't
the
think
Star
he had
Wars
the strength
multi-
to manifest yet.
Yeah, he did when I took over. My God, I burnt most of Middle-earth down before they even knew it was happening. I'm a good villain.
Okay, so there's a point in the book. Well, in the book, the wargs and the goblins are meeting each other to discuss their alliance, and they run into the dwarves, and the dwarves run into the trees, and Gandalf shoots fireballs at the wargs.
Yes.
In the movie, they changed it so that the goblins didn't come out the mountain, but the other orc characters they added did come, and they had the wargs with them.
What's his name? Azog. He was actually dead, and it was his son Bog. He was technically the captain of the orc army at the end of the
But all
Battle
of that
Five.
aside, at that point, that's where the eagles rescue the guys, fly them up to the eagle's nest.
Yes.
And then in the movie, the eagles immediately leave them, and they carry on with the adventure.
Yes.
Now, in the book, Gandalf actually meets with the Lord of the Eagles, and they sit down and they have a
Gwynedd,
discussion.
isn't it?
He
He sounds like
I'm
a Welshman.
I'm actually due to reread both The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
I never reread books. There's too many to read. I
This-
can't reread things. There's just so
It's-
much to read.
It's been so long, though, I want to refresh my memory.
Yes.
But yeah, so when Gandalf talks
I'm
to
not
the
reading
Eagles...
Silmarillion ever again. Good
No.
God, no.
No.
Or Children of Hurin. Mm-mm.
I do want to get the new one, though.
Oh, God. But you're saying, yes.
Yeah. So when Gandalf's talking to the eagles, it very much and very clearly comes up that the eagles do not interfere in politics outside of their own kingdom. The eagles have that one little piece that covers that like bottom edge of Mirkwood and just to before Bjorn's house.
Yes.
That's the eagles' territory, and they tend to be kept within their territory, and they don't meddle in the politics outside there. In fact, when they do show up at the Battle of the Five Armies, it's only because of a lot of heavy begging from other characters. And that is why the Eagles did not just fly them and drop them off. That is my counter argument.
Self-righteous, self-important bastards like all the other people in Game of Thrones, actually. Everyone's a self-righteous cocksucker.
Basically, this is their territory. That's their thing. They're not going to go poking their nose in other people's business.
How un-American. That's probably why people don't understand it, because Americans always sticking their noses in other people's business.
Yeah, well,
and then dropping bombs on their country.
Well, America's in its final season now, so...
It could be. By the time this goes out, Zafira Trump.
I'm looking forward to the final season of America.
Hey, it's either the Fuhrer Trump or dodgy white woman. Or it could be a split, because certain Southern people say they'll declare Trump as their president and the South will rise again. And as I said to my friends in the South, get out, help them build a wall, and then every time drop a few nukes on the South, and every zombie that tries to come to the wall, just shoot the fuck out. Problem solved.
Well, they want their wall.
Yes, they'll just build it round Texas and then cut it out and fling it off into space. It's not like it's a great loss.
Bad America.
But argument being, all right, Aragorn. Let's look at the Fellowship.
Okay.
Frodo is a complete puff. He is utterly useless. He can't even walk 2 feet without falling over and hurting himself. Samwise has a hard-on for Frodo, and that's it. He's just gay. It's pure gay undertones. He wants to fuck Frodo. The other two are the stoner assholes of the universe who just sort of follow on, and they're actually of no point. They're just there to add more hobbits. Aragorn is a teenage asshole who has no clue whether he's coming or going. Legolas is just pulling off the whole I'm an immortal and therefore I'm just getting my nose in everyone's business like my daddy does. And Short Ass is there trying to avenge, get a few kills in to try and match his daddy after the Battle of the Five Armies. He's got daddy issues. They all do, actually. And then Gandalf's just being this old guy hanging around. Oh, and Boromir's a complete twat and then doesn't respawn. Although everybody else gets killed at least 3 times, they all come back. But Boromir somehow gets shot with an arrow and falls over fucking head. KO. The end.
Okay, well, first of all, Boromir would have issues with the abuse he took growing up.
Yes.
He wasn't the favourite kid and he got treated like shit for it. So he is going to be out there to prove himself, and he tried too hard and failed. Instead of thinking logically and actually fighting with the party.
So definitely, obviously the opposite.
And on top of that, he was fighting the corruption of the ring, because being human, he was weak and pathetic and the most susceptible.
Well, so was Aragorn.
But he's not pure human.
Yes, he's Numenorian as well.
Yes.
Technically, he's shagging his own aunt.
Great aunt.
There we go. Wookiee remembers. Yeah, but technically, he's keeping it in the family.
Yes.
Elrond and
let's. Incest is pointless because have you seen the Hobbit's family trees? They're fucking circles.
Yes, I have actually. Actually, Game of Thrones, European. Anybody with a bit of power has a circle.
But that's just
my family, my dad's family, there's a big circle in that part of North Wales. It's been there for a few centuries.
That's just how the British were.
Yeah.
Tolkien was in England.
Yeah, so glad my grandfather married a woman from England. Otherwise, he could have married another bloody Edwards, because we've married about 50 of them over the centuries. So marry your cousin.
Yes.
But yes. So Frodo. Let's go straight to him.
Okay,
he's
the main character.
He is absolutely shite. He's a pale imitation of Bilbo.
Well, Bilbo, when he got back, Bilbo from the beginning was always nobility. Granted, he had that took blood that corrupted things a little, and that was like the dark secret of the family. But the Baggins were essentially nobility of Hobbiton. They were very well known. They were pretty well off. I mean, let's face it, Bag End is a nice little mansion, and Hobbiton is very much the rich area of the Shire.
Yes, it is.
So they're a very proncy family to begin with.
There's a bit of cash floating around there, yes.
And then after Bilbo got back from his adventure with the dragon, he was pretty well loaded.
Yes.
So Frodo is Paris Hilton.
Frodo and Sam sex tape. Oh my God. No, I will not have that. It's in my eyes now. It's in my eyes. I can see it. I can see it. I'm now ruined.
So yes, Frodo is a wimpy little whatever because he had a nice little posh upbringing and never had to face any of the hardships of the world.
His parents died, if memory serves, and then Bilbo adopted him. But he's some distant. It's not his nephew. It's like his 19th across cousin, 50 times removed or something. It's like some distant relative miles away.
Technically, yes, but he grew up in that house, so that's family to him. He doesn't know anyone else.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Everyone else is retarded.
Well, apart from Merry and Pippin, who are his cousins, even though the film never really mentioned that.
Well, actually, the extended cut, the idiotic one of the two, Pippin, in the film, he does mention that Frodo is.
Oh, yes, at the bar.
His cousin here and his cousin
but
there.
Like movies. Frodo, friend Sam go venture, the cousins bump into them by chance and they go off. Book. Frodo plans to go with the two cousins.
18 years.
Yeah, Frodo plans over 18 years to move in with the cousins and then slowly shift out because they're on the border, it'll be easier to slip away. And Sam gets caught up in the whole mess. But yeah, and obviously Sam was Frodo's garden boy.
Yes.
So I guess I can...
You can read whatever you want into that. Everyone else does.
Well, we've already established the sex tape, so come on.
True story. But so Frodo is the limp-wristed puff. Therefore, absolutely no use as a ring bearer, and therefore they should have taken the ring. Old what's-her-face Galadriel should have grown a pair, taken the ring off Frodo, smacked in one, and gone tossed it in the mountain herself.
Now, you see, the problem with that is, the reason Frodo got the ring is simply because hobbits take longer to be corrupted by it. If Galadriel had taken the ring, she would have just been the new Sauron and done the destruction herself. The same for Gandalf. They both knew that their amount of power shouldn't be controlled by the ring. And Bilbo, having had the ring for 50 years, without major incident apart from going slightly loopy, proved the idea that the hobbits are a little bit more resilient, and thus a hobbit made a better choice for a ring bearer. And I guess Bilbo, being the one who had it already, Frodo, he just got to carry on being the one who had it.
Samwise, garden boy or willing victim? Some say, a lot of sex tapes involved there. But yeah, there's definitely. Sam turns out to be more the hero. Him and Gollum turn out to be better at getting the ring to Mordor and destroying it than Frodo, who's pretty much walked around in circles for 20 years, scratching his ass because he didn't know what he was doing.
Sam is the hero of the story.
Yes.
He's the one who, again, he's actually worked his life. He knows how to persevere and thingy. When Frodo has the whole thing like, oh my god, things are terrible and I can't cope, Sam's the one who slaps him about and says, fuck it, let's keep going.
Man up.
Yeah.
Okay. Merry and Pippin. Useless stoner cousins on the outside. Completely useless, don't do anything. Hang around with some trees for a bit and then one day die and get buried next to Aragorn.
But they started out like that. And via the course of the books actually learned to be a lot more responsible and thinking, like when
coming of age story for two short people.
Essentially,
a midget coming of age.
When they managed to orchestrate the Ent attack on Isengard, then both of them ended up serving in one in the Rohirrim and one in Gondor's reserve army. They did have tons of character development from the two crazy
This one
stones.
is definitely going to overshoot, or might turn into 2 episodes. Maybe 2 episodes. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Part 2 will come for this one. Next,
Tolkien has a lot of work to deal with.
Yes. The hero of the piece, Aragorn. Whingy puff who can't cope with his past, or in the movies he's an unwilling guy who's not willing to become king because he's going to be corrupted, so he's a whingy puff. In the books, he wanted to be the guy so he could get laid. That was essentially it. He would become king so he could pound his own cousin 6 ways from side, or his aunt, technically.
Yeah.
He could fuck his aunt stupidly and have some kids with her. The argument there. He's either a whingy puff or a sex-mad deviant. Countered the argument. All he was doing he wasn't the good guy. He was doing it for personal gain.
So taking both of those character traits that we're choosing between, put them together.
You have Raven, but yes.
And more importantly, you have the perfect CV for someone to be king.
Yes.
That's like every king in history.
Inbreeding all the way.
Inbreeding and power mad. That literally describes every member of royal family throughout history. So yes, that is the perfect archetype to be a king.
Well, I love Prince Harry because he's just mad. He's not power mad, he's just mad.
Exactly. But he's the exception to the rule.
He's a ginger and he's always stoned. He dressed like Hitler, for God's sake. At a party, he's got skills. His brother dressed as a lion. Harry dressed as Adolf. But yeah, so Aragorn, do you think he is the hero of the piece, or do you think he's just some conniving, backstabbing arsehole who
I
wants
never
money
really
and power?
got the impression of him being the hero of the piece. To me, the hero of the piece was always
In
Sam.
the film, he's the hero because he becomes the king, and there's a lot of the Return of the King. They play a lot of the king, the good guy comes back, and therefore the future will be. I always wanted to see that part in Lord of the Rings where the king has returned and the happy days for Gondor, and he goes, right, First Lord, trebling the taxes, and we're also seizing all your property east of Ithilien because fuck me, we just had a war, we need some money, man. By the way, God, shoot anyone who disagrees with my new law. I was expecting for that part where he invades Rohan and takes over half their land because he needs the grazing territory. Because that's what I wanted, the expansionism in every direction. Consume your neighbours because you've just had a war. You need the cash.
But then again, growing up as a ranger, he didn't really experience the entirety of the life of a nobleman, which hopefully would give him
he
a
never
little
learned how
more
to
insight.
shave. Right then. What about the dwarf? Just there because he's got daddy issues. Because Gloin was awesome and did amazing stuff in The Hobbit, and I liked Gloin. He was always entertaining. Therefore, his son's just a pale imitation with daddy issues. Argue.
He was there to be a dwarf, and dwarves are cool.
That's Wookiee's argument, because Wookiee at 6'2" always plays a dwarf.
Wookiee has a major dwarf fetish.
Yes, that's why it's hard to find him bearded women. That's why he hangs around at the freak show as often as he does.
But I mean,
The
essentially
alternative
the Fellowship
scene,
of the Ring needed to have, the idea was that there should be
a
all
bit
of
of
the
everything.
races.
The free peoples.
Yeah. And obviously being a sequel, making him Gloin's son was a nice way just to tie it back to The Hobbit more than just Bilbo.
Yes.
And also when you have the treble, the treble with Gimli, Legolas and Aragorn, you do get that nice little camaraderie of these three groups that kind of don't like each other working together and making
Well,
like a
the
brotherhood
elves
of
and the
friendship.
humans get along fine. It's the dwarves no one likes because they're...
Let's be honest, the elves get on with they're civil with the humans, but they look down their noses at them.
Yeah, they look at the humans...
You're
as
the runts of the race.
Yeah, the humans are the teenager of the house. They're very arrogant, they're argumentative, and they're always causing all sorts of shit. And the elves, as the parent race, have to keep cleaning up the crap.
Especially seeing as most of these elves are like 10,000 years old.
And the dwarves are just some bunch of... They're that cousin...
Drunken lunatics.
Yeah, they're that cousin who's digging shit out of the ground and always just
But that,
on their own mission.
That is something, the one thing... There's lots of issues and you can have a whole debate, but the one
We're
thing...
going to have several at this rate.
The one thing that annoyed me the most in the Hobbit films was that whole animosity they made between Thorin and the elves.
Yeah.
In the book, Thorin was very friendly with the elves until Thranduil kidnapped him. But then he was angry for being kidnapped, not angry because it's elves. You know?
In the extended edition, they actually pushed that even more, that animosity between Thorin's grandfather and King Thranduil.
It was Mim and the petty dwarves that warred with Thranduil.
Yeah.
They had no animosity to those dwarves. And Thorin himself, I mean, I remember him being like friendly and chatting and whatever with Elrond.
As do I, yes.
Not having to be snuck in.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other argument.
Well, the films are different. Legolas, another person with daddy issues, or in his case, mummy issues. His daddy is the king of the Woodrun realms. What relation is he to Galadriel? I can never remember because she's the queen of the elves. Isn't that her cousin?
No. Well, they might be related. I can't remember.
Because
that much
she is
detail.
boss almighty of the elves, and her and her husband are the two dominant elves.
Galadriel
in
and
the Western world. We don't know about the homeland. She's probably just some knockoff cousin.
That's like saying, why isn't Victoria Queen of America?
Well, we had a revolution. That's why.
Well, yeah.
The Americans rebelled.
Okay, bad example, but Glorfindel, was it Glorfindel?
I think it was.
Well, Galadriel and
Glorfindel, who was the one who helped Celeborn. Glorfindel's the one who helped the Hobbit cross the river, not Liz Taylor wobbling her boobs at Nazgul to make them go away and summoning water horses.
Yeah. I don't know why boobs would chase anyone away, but hey. Yeah. So Celeborn and Galadriel are the ruling family of the Kingdom of Lothlorien.
Yes.
Elrond is the ruling king of...
He's the half-elf lord.
Yeah.
He's her son-in-law, or their son-in-law.
And he's the lord of what's-its-face? Rivendell. Thranduil is the king of the Greenwood.
Yeah, the Woodland Realms.
So they're different elvish cities. He's the king of the Greenwood.
Yes, but
the Green Elves.
Elrond is the son-in-law of...
So there's probably some sort of relation. I can't remember what it is.
I'm assuming so.
But they're different cities. They're different kingdoms, as it were.
Yes, well, if you've watched the films, you will know that it looks like Galadriel's the queen boss of them all. Her husband is as well, but he hangs around at home. He doesn't like going anywhere. He's probably watching TV or something. Where she's the one who goes off and attacks everybody and blows up places, and then
because it's like they're different.
Thranduil is just some psycho,
and they're different subspecies of elves.
Yeah, there's two subspecies, the Sindarin and the Queenan.
Well, those are the two languages. I mean,
it
depends what background, because there's the ones who saw the light and the ones who didn't see the light, and the ones who didn't see the light are the ones who are still sitting on the continent of Middle Earth, and then they subdivide into like the Sylvan Elves and the Woodland Elves, and it's a very complicated, very intricate structure of hierarchy and family
once again,
lines
all done by one guy. So go screw yourself if you're one of those plebs who actually think Star Wars is better because it was written by 500 people, and then they fired them all and threw away all their work.
Yeah,
but Legolas, daddy issues, mummy issues, or wannabe prince because his father's power player. His mummy probably was. Legolas is just some eternal hang-on because, well, Daddy's going to rule forever, and therefore Legolas is always going to be the kid of the king.
Yeah.
Therefore, he's trying to prove himself. Aragorn wants to be the man so he can get laid by his aunt. Gimli wants to be the man because, well, he wants to prove his daddy worthy of, like, claiming lordship of territory. And Legolas wants to be the man to prove to Daddy that he can actually do something.
I can go with that.
That's the general argument that most of them are puffs. Not in the sense they're gay, Richard, but in the sense that they've all got issues with daddy or mummy or some issue that they're trying to resolve by killing things.
That story writing. A character...
Not in mine. I kill everyone off all the time because they vex me. Also, I get annoyed trying to remember the names of these bastards. It does get annoying.
At the end of the day, if you go down to the core concept of story writing, like that is why Twilight sucks. Is because main character is a blank slate of nothingness.
Which is why it works for soccer moms, because they
can become said character. But yes, but a story where your characters are clean slates of nothing is a very boring story. Your characters need histories and personalities and whatever to give them character.
Yes, indeed. Well, that's the first argument. We'll get to the villains. So let's finish off with Gandalf, incompetent, immortal angel halfwit. He could do so much more, but he doesn't. Why? Why is he so useless? Why is he not cool like Professor Xavier, who moves things with his mind? Actually, he's incompetent because he couldn't find the woman who was in his own school.
He's also not telekinetic. He's psychic. He cannot move things with his mind.
He's a wizard. He's got the Force. Wizards all have the Force.
I'm talking about.
Why is he not as cool? Oh, well, why is Gandalf not as cool as Obi-Wan? Explain why he's not that.
Because
good.
the crystals you use to make lightsabers don't exist on Middle Earth.
And if they did, one of the Tukes would probably eat it because they're fucking stupid that lot. But yeah, Gandalf, incompetent.
Again, Gandalf is a
one-man army,
being.
a divine being, a one-man army who could actually conquer the whole thing and sort the problem out, but he doesn't. Therefore, incompetent, or weak-willed, or an idiot. Or is he playing another game where he's planning to take over in the long run?
The extent I don't know, but I'd say basically he is playing a game. He is a divine being who precedes the creation of this world. To him, he's just an overseer guiding its development. It's an experiment. Middle Earth is his petri dish. And every now and then he drops in some chemicals and then sees what it does. If it gets destroyed, it doesn't really affect him. He wants it to succeed, but again, he's just the observer and he's pushing people and letting them do the work. They're his chess pieces.
Okay, I can go with that. Right, that's the end of episode 2. We've overshot a bit, but who cares? We'll see you in the next one when we carry on this epic battle of penises, or whatever the hell we're doing.